The OCTA research group sees a downward trend in new cases in Metro Manila. That's despite the health department recording over 7,000 new infections across the country on Sunday. The World Health Organization approves the Chinese-made vaccine Sinopharm for emergency use. Hashtag Duterte Duwag trends online after the president backed out of his own debate challenge against retired Supreme Court Justice Duterte-Carpio. Though we won't be seeing a Duterte-Carpio debate anytime soon, an online gamer found a way to make two of them fight inside the wrestling ring. And with exactly 1 week before the Miss Universe coronation night, Miss Philippines Rabia Mateo bonds with her fellow candidates and teaches them some Filipino words. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. The OCTA research group sees the downward trend in new cases in the NCR continuing, signaling a more stable COVID situation in the metro. This as the average new daily cases in Metro Manila drops to 2,454 from April 30 to May 6. That's a 56% decrease from the peak of the surge. The reproduction rate in Metro Manila also decreased to 0.70, while the R0 for the whole country is at 0.86. Despite this, the OCTA expressed concern over the continued increase in occupied ICU beds for COVID-19 patients, as ICU bed occupancy rates remained stable at 71%. The research group is holding on to optimism, even as the health department logged more than 7,000 new COVID-19 cases on Sunday. That number brought the country's total caseload to 1.1 million, with around 61,000 active cases. More than 9,000 COVID-19 patients recovered overnight, while 204 more people died from the disease. The country's COVID-19 death toll now stands at nearly 18,500. The World Health Organization has approved China's Sinopharm vaccine for emergency use. This is the first vaccine developed by a non-Western country to obtain the WHO's backing, and it is also the first time that the organization has granted emergency use approval for a Chinese vaccine brand for any infectious disease. Before this approval, however, Sinopharm shots had already been given to millions of people across the world. Reuters reports that some WHO experts voiced concerns over risks of serious side effects in some patients, although they remain confident in the vaccine's ability to prevent the coronavirus disease.
WHO gave emergency use listing to Sinopharm Beijing's COVID-19 vaccine, making it the 6th vaccine to receive WHO validation for safety, efficacy, and quality. This expands the list of vaccines that COVAX can buy and gives countries confidence to expedite their own regulatory approval and to import and administer a vaccine. The Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization, or SAGE, has also reviewed the available data and recommends the vaccine for adults 18 years and older with a 2-dose schedule.
As India's COVID-19 crisis hampers its ability to deliver vaccine supplies, China has stepped up, providing vaccines for neighboring countries. Ian Marlowe reports on Bloomberg Quick Take.
So basically, we saw a situation where India, unlike a lot of developing countries, had this perplexing lull in cases for quite a long time, for a few months leading up to its recent crisis. And during that time, they really ramped up these vaccine exports. They were sending vaccines all over the world, even though at the time, some people were saying, you know, doesn't India need to get its own vaccination program rolling? And they had, but the numbers were really quite low. And then you saw this enormous surge in cases. Now we're seeing well over 300,000 cases a day. thousands of deaths. Basically, that has hit all of these other places, dozens of developing countries and some advanced economies that were basically relying on these Indian exports of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine to push their rollouts. So you had all these countries, not just who had received commercial orders or donations, but other countries that were reliant on India's contributions to COVAX, the sort of rich country-funded, WHO-organized, facility to sort of get vaccines equitably distributed around the world. So basically, what you've seen now is India's domestic crisis has refocused the government to say, look, we can't export vaccines. We need to focus on ourselves. We're seeing thousands of deaths each day, and that has just left a lot of other countries in the lurch around the world. Countries from Africa to Asia to Latin America, and it's causing a lot of concern for officials in a lot of those countries. Some Indian officials have said that China's kind of taking advantage of India's situation. Obviously, India and China are geopolitical rivals in Asia. China organized a call with all the foreign ministers of neighboring countries, countries like Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and kind of assured them, look, we can send you vaccines even if India can't. Indonesia's president called Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, personally, got some expedited shipments arranged for Indonesia, which is also being left out by India's collapse in vaccine exports. So you've seen this situation where even before this looming sort of WHO approval, China was moving quickly to take advantage. And now that the WHO looks set to authorize and sort of approve Chinese vaccines, which it has not done up until this point, obviously, that could really, really kind of unleash the floodgates, really, for Chinese vaccines.
Biological differences between children and adults naturally lead to variations in vaccine dosage and reaction. Just how different will vaccination be for children, and what guidelines should we expect for these? Andrew Pikash from Johns Hopkins tells us in this Bloomberg report.
Much of the biology of the immune system is incredibly different and very much dependent upon age. Even simple factors such as dosing based on body mass are all factors that have to be empirically determined, and that's why you see these clinical trials now that are focusing on children that are breaking down the age groups into smaller and smaller groups. Remember, adults were basically 17 and above, right? Right now we're going in age increments of about 4 or 5 years or so because of the challenges that are produced by trying to move into those populations with the limited amount of data that we have so far. So very important to get this right, because children represent a population that could really help us move toward a herd immunity sort of endpoint. But the studies that should be coming out next week are going to be very important in terms of understanding the dosing and the side effects in those populations.
And just to sort of tie a bow on this, if we do get those 12 to 16-year-old guidelines next week as expected, how quickly could we see kids start to get vaccinated, and perhaps how much does that accelerate the path to full immunity?
I think you can see vaccinations start almost immediately because the vaccine right now is out there. As we've all sort of been seeing, the vaccine demand is starting to diminish a little bit. And if we look at the initial rollout of the vaccine, my guess is that there'll be a large bolus of individuals who are very willing and want to get the vaccine that will line up very quickly. So I think that the rollout into children initially will be very fast and very high, and then it's really just then going to be a question of sustaining it and getting it to a high percentage, running into similar problems that we see now with the adult population.
Andy, what do you think the biggest issue is underpinning hesitancy at the moment?
I really do think it's getting the information to people in a way that they are comfortable understanding it. From a scientific standpoint, I really am amazed at the wonderful data that's coming out about these vaccines almost on a weekly basis right now. So the data is there. Communicating it effectively to populations is what's really important. And of course, getting at the issue of equity in vaccines, finding the populations that don't have access to it, that haven't heard much about the benefits of the vaccine. Getting to those populations is going to be the really critical thing right now.
Dr. Pekash, what do you think of New York City's decision to advocate for vaccine tourism that If people come here to visit from other countries, they could get a vaccine and get first in line.
You know, more vaccinations are better. And everybody's trying to be, I think, creative about how to do this. You know, bringing someone into a country, vaccinating them. Remember, your effect of the vaccine then takes several weeks before you can actually, you know, get the benefits of that. So the timing of some of these things is important. And again, we're allowed to do a lot when we're vaccinated, but we have to remember that it takes some time for a vaccine to actually get you your protection. And so that's, I think, the critical thing to remember as we roll out some of these policies that may allow for greater travel or greater access to vaccines for people who are non-residents.
Hashtag Duterte Duwag became a trending topic on Twitter. That's after the president backed out of a one-on-one debate that he himself issued against retired Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Duterte instead designated Palace spokesperson Harry Roque as his proxy for the debate, which was supposed to cover issues in the West Philippine Sea. Many netizens who were looking forward to watching a televised debate were disappointed and voiced their frustrations on social media. But it's not just netizens. Vice President Leni Robredo said it would have been an educational experience for the public to see Duterte and Carpio hashing it out over territorial issues. Robredo said Filipinos would have benefited from a public forum on the matter, which is not fully understood by everyone. For now, those who want to see Carpio and Duterte in a standoff would have to settle for a 12-hour virtual wrestling match instead. Streamers from Testa Gaming created a mod of the two officials on WWE 2K19. Thousands of Facebook users watched the 12-hour live stream as they bet on who will win the match. Testa Gaming said that the online game is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to hurt or ruin anyone's reputation. And the entire stream of the game is still accessible on Testa's Facebook page, but we'll let you get a sneak peek at some of the game highlights right now. Let's watch this.
Out of nowhere, mga kaibigan, kamay na bakal. Tulong si Carpio for the cover. Isa, dalawa. Uy! Grabe, napaka-intense ang laban, grabe. Sobrang ganda, Carpio, mga kaibigan. Isinukbit sinugong. Naku po! Ayan na! Naku, tinultok ang...
With less than 1 week from the coronation night, candidates of the 69th Miss Universe competition still made sure that they had some fun. Miss Universe Philippines Rabia Mateo taught some of the girls how to speak a few Filipino words. In a short clip, Mateo introduced her roommate Miss Japan, as well as Miss Korea and Miss Myanmar. One by one, the three girls showed off their Filipino speaking skills as they await their D-Day on May 17. Let's see how it went.
Let's start with Miss Myanmar.
Hi. Magandang gabi kami.
Now let's go to Miss Japan.
Hi. Mahakita.
Wow. And of course,
Hello. Kamusta ka?
And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again later at 10 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.